Hey everybody, welcome to LezPod. You are here, my friends, because you believe in the LGBTQ plus community and the importance of sharing our individual stories to help impact one another. Our goal with the show is to introduce you to people and ideas that are going to help motivate you to pursue your passions and inspire you to believe in yourself. Okay, my name is Alexandria Friedlander, and I'm here to introduce you to remarkable people who have helped shift the world we live in today. Today's guest is the one and only Monica Alexandra. Monica Alexandra is quite the hero in my personal opinion. I have known her for a few years, but this is actually the first time we've met in person. Not only did she really excel in education, but she is a professional #1 tennis player, and that is not easy to be. In addition to that, she also is a transformational coach, leader, mentor. I'll allow you to speak more on that. And I'm really excited to hear her story, you know, like where she comes from, the obstacles that she's kind of overcome to get to where she is today, and for you to hopefully relate to something about her story, because I think that's why we're all here, to feel connected, to not feel alone. And the more that we share each other's stories, that takes place. We don't feel so alone. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pass off the mic to you. Again, thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you, Alex. As you said, I mean, we've known each other for years now.
Yeah.
Speaking on the phone and on social media, I saw a lot of you bits and pieces here and there, and we always said we're gonna do something together. And I'm so happy and thank you and honored to accept the invitation, because I'm meeting you personally for the first time, and I already know we're gonna do a lot of good things together. I love what you stand for, so I'm more than happy to show up here and contribute with what we can. In telling our story, we all have stories.
Correct.
And hopefully, the story that I tell, or my story, or the things that I've done, sparks some kind of curiosity, in other people. So I really thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. It's really beautiful to have you here. So let's kind of just start off. I want to know, who was a Monica that was growing up in childhood? Who is? Yeah, I go pretty deep.
I see that. You didn't warn me.
I apologize. Well, then it's not as much fun, and you can't be as vulnerable. But at the end of the day, I want people, and please only share what you feel comfortable and respectful of sharing due to family. But I want people to know that we might not always grow up the best way that we wanted to, or with the silver spoon in our mouths, or with the best parents, or with the best mental health or self-esteem. But I think what's cool is that we've all had some sort of struggle, because at the end of the day, I think being a parent, I don't know from personal experience, but I'm sure it's extremely hard, and you do the best that you can, and a human has limits, and sometimes we make mistakes, and those mistakes could affect us in our childhood and then progress into our adulthood. And what I think is really neat is you come across like a very confident, well put together woman. How did you get there?
Nice. Well, thank you for the question. And obviously it's not easy to talk about childhood. Sometimes it's easier for some people.
Sure.
I honestly had a beautiful, beautiful childhood. I was born and raised in Bolivia, in South America. It is a conservative country, as many in South America. So very early, in my childhood, I understood that there was something different about me, and I think that that's the story for many of us.
Right.
We don't get to understand it for many, many, many years, and sometimes never. But I knew that there was something, different. And the fact that when I was, I believe it was 8 years old, I realized that there was something different. My childhood has been a mixture of many things. On one end, kind of hiding because I wasn't sure. My parents and my family were always supportive, beautiful family. I had great friends. I went to really good schools. There wasn't anything that I was challenged in that way there. But my own challenges were, as I was growing up, really self-imposed. And that happens to a lot of us. Because I didn't understand what was going on with me, I set up some rules for my life moving forward that allowed me to be, it was positive and negative. So it allowed me to become really good at some things in my life, but really good at hiding some other things in my life. So, I was raised in Bolivia. I started playing tennis from an early age. When I was 8 years old, I became number one in my country, and tennis has been for
8 years old, number one in her country. Can we just
in that category?
Can
right?
we just give her a round of applause real quick for that? I mean, that's big. That's a big deal.
Thank you. And it's funny when I look back at that moment. I remember receiving that trophy when I was 8 years old, and people were clapping, and people were like, I had people accepting, and I understood at that time that, okay, so in order for me to be loved and accepted and maybe, even recognized, I need to perform and always be at my best and always be number one. It was a self-imposed rule, right, that it carried me through life, and I understood later on how much of a damage that might have caused. But I ended up, having a really good career in tennis when I was, I was number one in Bolivia. I competed internationally. That allowed me to get a full scholarship in the U.S., where I came and I went to school, and I was, I finished my MBA when I was 24.
Wow, look at you.
And I graduated with honors. I mean, this is a journey, I'm telling you, of a lot of achievements after achievements.
Yeah.
At the same time, a lot of, not really satisfaction with my life. So it was like a parallel life that I was living.
So would you say that you compartmentalized a lot?
A lot. And that kept me safe in a way.
Insane. Maybe.
Insane. And even though, as I was growing up, there were a lot of more understanding about who I was and like what I wanted. My family has always been very supportive. The times that I felt conflicted, it was really my own judgments about myself that didn't allow me to move forward.
Preach.
And it's interesting because everything else in my life was great. I was, working as an executive in like multi-million-dollar corporations in marketing. My career was thriving. So as I was doing that, I also was feeling, a little bit of the inertia. So when I felt that feeling of being and living on autopilot, kind of like, okay, my life is about achieving things, and once I achieved something, what's the next? And I always kind of felt like I was comfortable in that gap of between achievement and the next one and the next one.
Like the unknown?
Yeah, but the unknown and the chasing of something bigger.
What the next goal is.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
So I was never really enjoying the present moment. I was always looking forward to what's the next best thing, and not only career-wise, but relationship-wise, friendship-wise,
It's very honest, and I like that you said that, because I can relate. I think a lot of people can relate, especially when you're trying to figure out who you are and what you really like and what feels right and what It's kind of like my stepmother told me when I was younger, you know, dating's like trying on clothes. You try on clothes, you see if it fits. If it doesn't fit, you know, it didn't work out. But sometimes you're going to find a good fit. You're going to find a good pair of jeans.
I like that.
And I was like, that's a really fucking cool, excuse my French, that's a really cool way to perceive life, you know?
And I think what changed for me was, as I was doing all that in my life, I was fed up with some of the patterns that I saw in my life, maybe in relationships, maybe, you know, at work, or how I was living, period. I saw some of the patterns that didn't allow me to move forward. It were very limiting, and I'm like, there's got to be something I need to work on something, and that feeling of inertia of, okay, what's the next thing, what's the next thing, what's the next step, it didn't really feel like it was my life. It was like I felt like I was living somebody else's, so it didn't feel authentic to me, even though, you know, I was living an authentic life as a, you know, gay Hispanic woman in Miami. There were a lot of things about me that weren't authentic. So for me, what changed was that awareness that I started asking a lot of questions about myself and really digging deeper. And, you know, I had the opportunity to go to India multiple times where I learned a lot. Oh my God, unbelievable trips.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, and you know, when I was there, you know, I started learning a lot about energy.
Yeah.
And
energy is a lot more powerful than people give credit to.
Yeah. I didn't know. I mean, I had the theory around it. I had some knowledge.
Yeah.
And then I started practicing myself. I started getting coached, and that was transformational for me. And I realized so many things along the way, along that journey, that I wasn't living in alignment with my values. By the way, now that I coach,
acknowledge that.
Yeah, a lot of the times that I coach today, that's the first thing I realized. People don't know what their values are.
No.
And when I talk about like values, I ask them, so what's important for you? Like what is important for you? And you might say 20 different things that are important for you, but what are the top 5?
Mm-hmm. I like that. Okay.
You know,
so you're narrowing it down so that you can focus one goal at a time instead of feeling overwhelmed.
Right. So for example, and this happens a lot when I have clients, we go through an exercise, so it's called value assessment, and it's a lot of words. Let's say 50, 100 words, and I ask them to let me know from 1 to 10 how important that word, for example, freedom or beauty or relationships or mental health, all of that, how important for them it is.
Right.
And then a lot of the times they come back with a list of 30, and I'm like, okay, break it down, give me your top 5. And it gets harder and harder, but once you realize what is, you know, your top 5 values, what's more important to you, life gets a lot easier, because then you start finding relationships that align with your values, you start finding friendships that align with your values, you start doing businesses that align with your values. So that was a game changer for me, for sure. Wow.
Thank you for sharing that. It's very, very fascinating, and very encouraging. Very encouraging. So what's something, you know, you've been around in the community. I'm still pretty new. I mean, I've been out since I was 19, but I really didn't become part of the lesbian LGBTQ plus community, especially in South Florida, up until about a little less than 2 years ago. And the reason that I did it was because I don't know if you've heard this story already, but I went to an event, which was a really cool event. It was like so many hot girls, strippers, lesbian strippers. You can indulge in like marijuana and not get in trouble. And it was a safe space, and it was fun. And I remember going there, and I just wanted to go over the event, and then I'm a businesswoman, so I contacted the owner. I was like, hey, can I do video for you for tonight? Like, I'll make something really sick. So she's like, yeah, come on down. And I went to the event, and I was standing in the corner, and I just observed that everyone who was at this awesome bar, this awesome opportunity to network, to build relationships, to meet new people, that everyone was clicked in cliques or isolated, and it made me feel so sad, like really sad in a really long time, because I feel like everyone has insecurity, right? We all struggle with insecurities. It's just part of human nature. But I feel like, from what I've experienced, I can only speak from my own personal experience, but I don't get the love, support, the hellos, the welcome. Like, you belong here when you go to events with lesbians. And that's unfortunate, because we're supposed to be family, we're supposed to be sisters, and we're supposed to support each other and hype each other up. And so what I decided to do that night was be a complete weirdo, which I am. I mean, crazies win, so I'm gonna win. I went up to every single girl at that bar, and I was holding my camera, and I introduced myself. I said, hi, my name's Alex. I'm a videographer here tonight. I just wanted to say hi and just introduce myself. And a good 80% of the people thought I was hitting on them. I hit on one person, okay? One. And she was taken. I was respectful. And then people got jealous, or they thought I was hitting on their girlfriends. But at the end of the day, I left feeling like I made maybe someone's night. And then the next day I created Les Miami, because I realized there's not enough positivity, there's not enough love and support, and there's not enough people like you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I had a mix of experiences in the Miami arena and the community. I've had beautiful experiences with the community. I have a lot of friends that I literally feel like they're my family, because my family lives in Bolivia.
Oh, wow.
Still. So I've always been kind of by myself in the US, and the friends that I made here have become my family. So it is a community that I adore, I respect very much. And I also see the potential of having a lot more things. Any development, any evolution is great. And I think that up until now, there was a way of meeting and hanging out and mingling and sharing as a community. I think from now on, there could be a lot more ways that we can do that will not only aspire people to just, to come out of the closet, which is a very important thing, and it's a hard thing to do.
It's very hard
to inspire that, and also inspire them to do big things
and to volunteer. We need volunteers. We need people to step up and give back to the community, because I think the most beautiful feeling you can experience, aside from real love, whatever form that love takes, is allowing yourself to be so selfless that in return it's actually selfish, because what you're gaining from being so selfless is you can't compare that feeling of giving, and of giving to people who really are in need.
Absolutely. And as a core energy coach, we learn there are different vibrations, different levels of consciousness that we actually navigate through life. And as a matter of fact, giving and being a volunteer and giving to others is one way of elevating your level of consciousness. So And the reason is obviously we're designed that way, to be part of a community and to actually make an impact in a community and try to give a little bit of joy to somebody else or relieve a little bit of the pain of somebody else. And as we're doing that, it is the easiest way, and feeling gratitude, both, to elevate your level of consciousness. So when you start doing that, it's not only actually about the other person, because the space that you create when you vibrate a little higher, it's complete benefit for yourself and your life. So I agree 100% with you. I think there has to be a lot more voices that speak to the benefits of volunteering, the benefits of helping out the community, that are not only
and just contributing, and just like getting out of your house, socializing, meeting people like us who might help you. You might help us. Like it's a two-way street.
It's I love that you say that, because a lot of the times, most of the times when I have a client or when I go to workshops, I always learn something new. And I get so inspired by my clients and what they go through. Or if I see in a workshop somebody that asks a question and I can address it and it clicks in a way, and then their growth, I mean, it's so inspiring to me. So it's definitely a two-way street. And I like that you mentioned that, for sure.
It's like I'm totally stealing this from a movie, so in case I actually become this comes to something really great, I want to give credit to the movie Waking Life. But what is it? It's like words are inert. It's like you can say love and then someone can process love, go back to their, loss of love, loss. Usually people go back to the loss instead of the positive, right? When we're thinking back. And what I think is really beautiful is when we don't always have to communicate verbally and just be present with one another and feel like we've been understood in silence. And it might be transient, but I think it's really what we live for. And that's a great quote from one of my favorite films, Waking Life. For real. So you guys should tell me what Monica's up to right now. You shared a lot about your history, what you do. Is there anything that you kind of want to promote or focus on or discuss that's making an impact in your life right now?
So, thank you for the question. I think that last year was a phenomenal year. And the year before that was a phenomenal year as well for me for coaching. But one of the things that made me realize and kind of the niche that I was going for was literally hold organizations accountable for their people's growth, okay?
Which is extremely hard because that's EQ.
It is hard, but it's also lack of knowledge because, for example, right now employees get health benefits, 401k, and the whole, they sometimes get even, health benefits like gym memberships and stuff like that. So organizations have evolved a lot to take care of their employees for a reason. When employees happy, customers are happy, everybody wins, the whole thing.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos killing it. I'm being facetious.
So what I think there is still a responsibility for organizations to sponsor the growth and the level of, and raise the level of consciousness of their employees as well, because that also obviously translates into higher life satisfaction for the employees. So it's a win-win. I've done a lot of workshops like that last year where I realized there's a huge interest and just to give you a number, if you raise the level of consciousness of your employees by coaching workshops and things like that,
right, Throw a little Tony Robbins in, maybe some Gary Vee,
There
whatever.
you go,
you know,
exactly.
Whatever resonates, yeah.
You raise their life satisfaction level, and what that does, for example, you increase 300% their innovation capabilities.
You're kidding me.
No,
Is that a
proven.
That's a statistic.
100%.
300%.
So now
Wow.
companies are realizing,
That's incredible.
like, everybody wants innovation. We need innovation, but you
Yes.
don't have the support for the people to actually become at their best so they can actually innovate. So
they don't have the willingness.
it's not a willingness because everybody wants to get better, but because
Do they?
a lot of times we do. I think we do. We don't know how. I think it's innate
I like that. That's well said.
that we want to become better, but we many times we don't know how, and that's one of the reasons why I want to pursue organizations to let them know about that responsibility and continue to pursue, because it's a win-win-win. The employee, the person, we win, the company wins, and the community wins. Because I'll tell you one thing that I think it's very important, and actually for this community is very important.
Yeah.
You know, we're all resonating at certain level of frequency. So each
Correct.
one of us, right?
Yeah.
So
It's pretty neat, actually, but it's true.
we all have a level of resonation, and we call it average resonating level.
Yeah.
What that does is you and I, now that we have become a system, our average resonating level of our system is both of our averages. So if we
Okay.
have, for example, a whole corporation and their average resonating level of their own employees is raised,
Right.
then the company's average resonating level
It's
raises
going to
as
raise.
well.
Right.
And that
It's
has,
like a domino effect.
exactly. So that's why I always say it's a personal work with a collective impact. So if we can actually allow our community, and now we're talking about, you know, the LGBT community,
Yes.
and we can support them in actually raising that level of consciousness, our community as a system will become, you know, more innovative, better adaptability. It was like 45% higher. What do you call it? Resiliency. You know, adapt to change. 24% productivity, for example. So there's a lot of benefits on why we want to raise our level of consciousness, and I want to go after that. And I have some plans that I'm working on, including a book about it. But I think
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you.
The
wait to
end
read it.
game, yes, of course. Once it's done, whenever.
Yeah, of course.
I think the end game is to have people acknowledge that it is a personal work with collective impact.
Yes. So here's a question for you. How do you escape reality when it gets too much? How do you cope? How do you, when shit hit, when life shows up, how do you take these skills that you've made an effort to learn on your own or with others and implement them, consciously make an effort to implement them on a regular basis? Obviously it takes practice, but we're human, we fall short sometimes. What is your way of coping?
Life always gets hard. It doesn't matter where you are, if you're starting a business or you are a complete millionaire or you starting in the dating world or you have 5 kids and a beautiful relationship. Life always gets hard, and different things work for different people.
True.
For me personally, I am very thankful that I found yoga, for example, and meditation, and breathing exercises. Those are my tools because I do get obviously irritated. We get all these feelings.
You're a Capricorn.
I am an Aquarius.
You're an Aquarius.
February 4th is my birthday. Send me some
February
love.
4th, no nudes, but you can send her money and you can send her like positivity, but no nudes out of respect.
But it's become one of my greatest tools, and I cope with that. And obviously,
That's
sometimes
cool.
I fall back and I have my glass of wine and I enjoy my wine. I cope with that as well. I don't drink often, but when you're talking about coping mechanisms, there are things that I prefer to do. And one of the major things I think is important is that I try not to hate on myself if I don't choose the right thing. And I just, the
Give
next
me an
time.
example. I like that, but I want an example
Sure.
so that the people can kind of
Absolutely.
have a better...
So, for example, I recently stopped smoking.
Cigarettes?
Cigarettes and vaping. Like, I haven't vaped in a while. I used to vape.
How long? How long has it been?
It's been probably 6 months.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. However,
Yes.
every now and then I want a cigarette and I have a cigarette and then I catch myself, why did you do that? Like, so I forgive myself a lot of times, and I think it's important to do that. The next time, I know I can choose meditation as a coping mechanism. So it is a journey. It's a work in progress, but when life gets hard, my first option is usually just center myself. It helps me a lot, and yoga is one of the vehicles.
That's amazing. I just want you to know, after this podcast, we're gonna become pretty good friends, and I truly believe that everybody who's been on my show, my podcast, LezPod, and just to be very honest, this was a 2-person show about 2 years ago, so I can't take full credit for the entire concept. I do want to give Chicky Lulu a shout out, but we decided to do our own thing, and thank you to her for allowing me to still continue this on, because now I have a different message, a different focus, and it gives me an ability to help people that might not be able to watch things like this because it's too painful, or they can't relate, or I don't know, sometimes it's just hard to face your own demons, right? But if she can do it and I can do it, you can do it. Like, we're not that unique. We're unique, but when it comes to problem solving, finding the solution, we're not that unique. It's always a choice who we choose, who we want to become, right?
I love that, and what I will add also is that a lot of times, and I've seen it in my clients, we are addicted to negative thoughts, or we are addicted to
instant gratification.
Sure, instant gratification is another example. So we fall back into defaults, into programming, and
Yes.
and that actually limit us and makes us. It impacts us in an actually negative way, but we are so comfortable there that we fall back.
Correct.
We fall back into perfectionism, or we fall back into feeling like the victim, or we fall back into different programming and defaults that it takes a lot of work to get out of that.
Yeah.
But once you start, I think that it's a beautiful journey, because then a lot of things change in your life. And yes, we're gonna fall back, but I think what you said is the important thing, is like you always have a choice. And we were talking about this yesterday.
Yes.
Just knowing that you always have a choice every day, it's very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I could get up. Just to be very honest with you guys, and I don't like to share negativity, because I created a page about positivity. So at the end of the day, I feel guilt, but I'm just gonna keep it real. I am a human being, and life shows up, life happens. And I've been kind of struggling a little bit recently, and showing up here today, even though I didn't really want to, being there for somebody who is choosing to be there for me, who didn't have to, and then having this empowering conversation that takes you to all different kinds of levels of how you can view your mindset, perception, what reality is, right? I think that it's important we share more, and that we become more vulnerable, because the more vulnerable we become, the more that people feel like they are accepted. And then maybe the next party you go to, they'll come up to you and say, hey, I remember you, and you made me feel important, and I needed that. And you could literally change somebody's life. So never discount the kind of impact that you can make on the world. Yes, there's 7 billion people and counting, but nonetheless, what you do makes a difference in material terms. What you do makes a difference in how people feel, and most importantly, how you feel about yourself. So just to wrap this up, I don't want to keep it too long. What is something that you'd like to see kind of take precedence more so within specifically the lesbian community?
I think that,
and we're not bashing, we're just, like, how can we be better? How can we be more helpful? How can we inspire people to, stop watching this? It's okay. You can turn this off right now. Call me and say, how can I help you today? And let's go feed some fucking homeless people. And that's how you can help me. Like, how do we do that? And I kind of answered your question for you, which I apologize.
I love it.
But what would you say from your own personal opinion that we could do as a community, as whoever identifies as female, and make an impact, whether it's monthly, bi-monthly, but something that gives us something to look forward to. Because I think people need that.
I love your question, and I have already so many things in my mind, but I want to focus on one which is very specific.
Sure.
I think that, and with the experience that I've seen around, I think the lack of awareness, personal awareness, and I'm not saying about how I want to be identified or like what's my sex orientation, like I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying the lack of awareness of what triggers me. What am I programmed? Why my relationship with my mother, for example, is the way that it is. What makes me really happy, but not happy in a way where, okay, we're gonna get the next, Chanel or the next best car, but what gives me long-lasting, sustainable joy. And also, what are the things that me as an individual, as a Monica, what are my shadows? I think a lot of times we're not even aware, what our shadows are, and we just put it under the rug and we pretend they don't exist, and that affects us a lot. And I think the number one thing that I would want to see is more people being accountable for their own awareness. Being aware of themselves and what they can work on. It's a beautiful journey, and I think that's going to again help benefit a lot of people. But I've seen a lot of growth around just starting with awareness, and a lot of a huge change in directions, just being aware of a lot more than you think yourself. And
fascinating.
Here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Allowing yourself to be completely different than what you thought you would be. So what I want to say with that is I want to see more of us figuring things out as we go, like you're doing.
Right.
I was a tennis player for many, many years. I was, I'm in marketing for many, many years. And now I'm a coach, I want to see people testing different things about themselves. Not because you've been, let's say, an engineer your whole life, you're only that. I want to see more playfulness, more curiosity in our community, because I think that's going to make us grow.
Yeah, it's going to help us figure out who we really are instead of wondering. And please don't take this the wrong way, but I feel like the majority of society lives in sheep mode. It's like conformity. People get up, they go to work. 90% of the people, you ask them why they go to work, because everyone else goes to work. Not because they want to be successful, not because they want to do something different, because of conformity. So I think that what you said is so powerful, and we need more leaders. We need more people to step up, share their stories, do a spiritual event. Anything that will make people feel a part of. Because I feel like there's so many lonely people right now. Not as lonely as there was in 2020, but there's still a lot of lonely people. Not everyone can afford therapy. Not everyone has friends. Not everyone can keep friends because they struggle with mental illness, and sometimes that gets exhausting for the other person. And I think creating an environment where not only can you give back and feel good about yourself, but you're also receiving that positivity and self-worth that you deserve. That takes time, work, consistency, and self-discipline to create and to sustain.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thanks. I kind of feel like I stole the show, but I just
you made a great closing, but that's exactly right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So anything, again, just to make sure that I cover everything, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience?
No, I mean, just having this conversation made me think of I wrote an ebook about my transformation and what was important for me, and it's basically 5 things I learned that I wish I had learned 10 years ago.
Of course.
So if you follow my account, the link is going to be there to take you. It's a free ebook, but it talks about the 5 steps and the 5 things that I believe are the gateway to understand and I think become a little bit more conscious and allow yourself to be transformed.
That's awesome. So don't just read the 4 agreements. Read the 5 steps, okay? Because they're probably on the same page. Well, Monica, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being accountable, an example to the women in the community, an example to me. And I know that you're going to keep doing great things. And if there's anything I can do to contribute, please let me know.
Same here.
We're family.
Absolutely. Same here. I love the invitation. I love the conversation.
Thank you.
I think it was a very powerful conversation for me. I got to know you. I got to see a little bit more of you, and I think you are doing beautiful things, and allow me to help you if I can in any way.
Thank you. I will definitely take you up on that offer.
Absolutely.